the prophecy of the servant of servants. One of the things we get wrong in Scripture is possession. We do. In Genesis 9, Noah is speaking to Canaan. And he says, "Cursed be Canaan. A slave of slave will you be to your brother, or a servant of servants will you be to your brother." And then he keeps going on, and he says, "And Canaan will be the servant of, or the slave of Shem." This keeps going on. But one of the things we get wrong is the word for slave. Because we use our Western imagination, meaning that Canaan or his descendants have to be enslaved, instead of looking at the whole context of what God is saying through Noah. We don't read the next chapter or the chapter after that. We just come up to our own thought pattern saying that Canaan is cursed. That means all black people are cursed. Or we even go one step further and says Ham is cursed. That is not what this is talking about. This is talking about the possession of a land. This is dealing with the land of Canaan and how it's going to be possessed by three different groups: the descendants of Ham, the descendants of Shem, and the descendants of Japheth. This is what this is talking about. The prophecy of possession. What do I mean by possession? In basketball and football, they have this stat on who possessed the ball the longest. That means who had it in their possession, who had control of it. That's what it's getting at. And we believe that this is dealing with the subjugation of a people. And it does not. This is easily verifiable if you go one chapter later. In chapter 10, where God tells you who's going to possess the land of Canaan. Now, this is the other thing. So if Canaan was cursed, and this is dealing with the person, you would think everything he possessed was cursed, wouldn't you? So if you think I'm cursed, you would think everything I touch, everything that's named after me, everything I possess, everything I own is cursed. But that is not what God is talking about. Because if that were the case, the land of Canaan wouldn't be the sought after place to live. Why was the land of Canaan so sought after? Have you ever asked yourself that? Why was the land of Canaan the place to be? The reason why it was sought after is because the Lord's presence was there. Okay. Possession. When we look at this scripture in Genesis 9, a servant or a slave will you be to your brothers. And again, this is dealing with his own brothers, to his children, to his father's descendants. This is dealing with him being a servant, his land being controlled by the descendants of Ham. If you don't believe me, please go to Genesis 10. Right here it shows you in Genesis 10 who's going to possess the land. How is it that we are so blinded by hatred that we can't even flip the page and see what God is actually talking about? Honestly, how can you go from, well, this says he's going to be a slave and that's all they're meant to be. They're all beneath me. That's not what God is talking about. This is dealing with the possession of the land. Who controls the land? Who has naming rights? If you possess something, right now, we have this van. I call it the Silver Bullet, but my wife calls it, I think, Bertha. She gave the van a name because it's under our possession. We own it. We give it a name and we roll in it. We don't abuse it. We use it. When you buy a house, matter of fact, let me tell you this story. When me and my wife first got married, we went to go buy a house. We found the house we wanted. We prayed in front of the house, and we got the house. So we signed the papers to close on the house. And in paperwork, it was ours. It was. But the time we were supposed to take possession, to have it as our own, the lady refused to move. It took us 30 days to get this lady out of our house. I was making my first house payment before I could ever move in, before I could ever possess my house. In all honesty, she was still in possession of what was mine. Until we had to pack up her stuff ourselves, put it in a U-Haul for her. This goes for her baby grand piano. We had to pack up all of her stuff so we could move in and take possession. Possession is what they're talking about, the having control of this land. And later on you'll find out God tells Shem that he's going to possess the land. And that Japheth is going to live in his tents. And then later on, after Japheth lives in his tents, Shem is going to possess the land again. All of it is about the control of the land of Canaan. It has never been about the possession of a man. It has always been about the possession of a land.